Index Card of Day 2017 with me, Creative Katie. We're in the home stretch now. This is card 5758 and I'm doing a series of 4 seasonal crazy birds. These are the first 2. The next 2 are in the next video. Links to supplies are in the description box, and I'd just like to say thank you to all those people who use my affiliate links and purchase products. Hit the subscribe button and check the option to be notified as soon as I upload the next video. So I have all 4 gessoed cards, and I'm going to do a series. The prompts here, 4 of the last ones are crazy birds, or are the seasons, and I decided I'm going to feature a crazy bird as a focal point on each of them. So I'm just getting out my crazy bird stamps, and I am using a black acrylic paint to stamp the images out onto paper, and I'd say it's about double what copy paper is. It's just a little bit more than copy paper, and it takes medium a little bit better and doesn't pill as readily. I just prefer using acrylic paint. I find I get a darker line and it doesn't disappear as much when you add other mediums on top of it. But if you have black ink, StazOn, or archival permanent ink, you can use that just as easily. If you are using acrylic paint, just be aware you need to clean your stamps. And I just spray some Murphy's oil, my mixture of Murphy's oil soap and soap detergent and water in the spray bottle that I keep handy for cleanup on my desk. If you're doing a series, it kind of saves time a little bit because you can do all the stamping, doing all the gessoing to prep the cards at the same time, and you only have to dig out the products one time. So in this video, I'm going to be doing the spring and autumn. And I'm kind of going back and forth between the two because there's some drying time in between. So I am starting with a gessoed page or thing, and I grabbed out my distress crayons. Now you could do the same thing using your Inktense blocks or gelatos, acrylic paint. You could do all those mediums, and I have a technique tag video that shows that. So I am just applying color, and I want a lot of pigment on here. I'm using some of this burgundy. I love, love, love that color, and I'll put a link to the set that's in, and I just wanted a little bit of green. This is the fall one, so I want this to create a background that resembles the colors of fall, which I so totally, totally love. I'm just adding and even putting color on top of color and letting them mix. And you see how some of it's starting to pick up a little bit of color there. If you let it dry in between, that doesn't happen. And I got a little bit a wrong color I didn't like, so I just used baby wipe, cleaned it up, which goes right back to the gesso because you've added the gesso, and then you can add more color, and it just adds an interesting effect there as well. So I'm just spraying this with water and getting it quite wet and using a piece of saran wrap to get that pattern in there. And now that's off to the side and it needs to dry. So now I'm doing the spring one, and I have this raindrop. This was a stamp set that I got from the dollar store. And I'm just stamping with blue StazOn on the background. And again, I'm using my cool colors here of my distress crayons. Adding the water. This time I'm activating it with my finger a little bit. Didn't like that green in there, so kind of lifted it off. And again, that's only possible because the gesso was underneath it. If I hadn't put gesso, the pigment would have soaked into the page and I would not be able to do that. So now that it's nice and wet, I'm just kind of holding it down, and I am going to put some salt on here. Now, I don't think I had it wet enough. I didn't get as strong a salt effect as I would have liked, but that's okay. It does add another texture and another layer. And I set that aside, although I believe I did use the heat tool to speed it along. And you can see it's kind of a little bit pebbly there. So now I'm getting out a series of paints, and I have this iridescent, this Pebeo Dyna, and this is blue-green, and I am stamping with that same raindrop stamp, and you can barely see this. If it gets the right angle, you can see that. But I find with the iridescent, that's what it is. From different angles, you're going to see it a little more, a little less. So I'm adding that. But because it didn't show up as much as I'd like, my intent was just to use this. I decide to keep going and adding more raindrops. First with silver paint. This is Martha Stewart's Metallics, pearlized paints, which I absolutely love. I bought a whole set on Amazon, and I'll put a link to that. I love them. They work so well, and I've made sprays with them as well. So you can see how that's just adding. And at this point, I'm just falling in love with this background. So then I grab purple, and that's Artist Loft Metallic in this dark purple. And I'm doing the same again. So basically, I've used the same colors that I have in the background with the distress crayons and adding. Now, because this is acrylic paint, there is a little bit of texture there and lots of shimmer. And I will totally be reduplicating this background on a larger page. This would be lovely as it is, just as a bookmark. So I took off the saran wrap off of the fall card here, and again, totally loving the background and how that turned out. It just, with the crinkles of the saran wrap, it looks like leaves. So this is a folk art stencil, leaf stencil, and if I do this on a larger page, I might use that one, but I found the scale a little bit too big. So I will look on Amazon to find some that have smaller scale leaves. This is a cut file that I purchased off of Silhouette, and it had some smaller leaves, and so I'm using that, and I am just using a makeup sponge and putting black acrylic paint through it. And I'm picking and choosing my leaves here, and I want the smaller scale ones. Both of these backgrounds came very easily, considering I had no particular idea other than I wanted to create a background that looked spring, looked fall. But I loved both of them so very much. I was absolutely thrilled with them. And this will be a background again. This one as well that I will do again on a bigger surface, on a canvas or on an art journal page. And that's one of the benefits of doing the ICADS. It's a small surface, but you can play with techniques and colors and different things. And then you can use that card as inspiration and as a jumping off point for future works. My plan here is to do this series of 4 and possibly frame this in a picture frame that has 4 places. And I would have the seasons and the, you know, these crazy birds, which I love as well. Now I'm just edging them with the black acrylic paint since I have that paint out. And that just finishes up the card. And I decide that since this is going to be a series, I want something similar, some features that every card has, aside from the crazy birds. So I did black on this one. Not sure which crazy birds I'm going to use for this. So I grabbed my Jelly Roll Metallic Gold. And again, this is another supply that I absolutely love and reach for multiple times. And I'm just outlining, going around the black stencil. And I'm trying not to go right on the edge. I want black on both sides, so I'm just going very quickly. And, you know, that's what I love about these Jelly Roll pens. They write so easily. Rarely do I ever have any trouble writing with it, with the pen stopping or being, you know, kind of skipping. Other than dollar store Jelly Roll gel pens, I haven't tried any other brands, but this brand totally works. We shouldn't have to fight our products to get things done. So here is a close-up of both backgrounds that I created, and then the weekend came and we had company, and this just sat. I wasn't sure which birds I wanted to do, and I actually waited till I had all 4 backgrounds done. So I cut these out because I needed to play with the sizes and make sure it matched kind of my plan for each of the cards. So after playing around for quite some time, deciding which ones, I put gel medium on them. And here my plan is to use my new Artist Pit Brush pens. Now these I purchased with the money that I got from my Amazon affiliate store. So thank you again to those of you who have shopped in my store. My promise to you was that I would buy art supplies with that money. It's not a lot of money, but this was something that, you know, I was always curious about, that I wanted, and I would never probably have purchased unless I had gotten this. So I picked the quote for this one, "Do not fear change," which was a quote that had been in my stash. All along I've been printing out quotes and sentiments that I might use, and I challenged myself to use what I had for the cards, not to go printing out more. So here I'm using these pens, and using the gel medium makes it a non-porous background. So you can kind of blend this a little bit. I'm not sure if you need to dry in between if you're using layers of this. And of course, there's always a learning curve when you're using a new product. And me, of course, I'm going to, you know, pull it right out of the box, take the cellophane off, and go do a video with it because, you know, that's how I roll. So I'm just learning as I go here. And I found that, yes, you did need to kind of let it dry a little bit. If you use these products, these Pit Brush pens, and have any tips or hints for me, please put them in the comment. But that was kind of, you know. So I thought, do not fear change. And here he is green. He is not, hasn't changed color like the rest of the fall, autumn leaves. And I just thought this was kind of funny. And, you know, it really matches that little bit of green that I put into the background. I'd like to say that was completely by design. No, total fluke, but I'll take credit for it, and if I was to duplicate this, I would actually add that in. So this umbrella was also part of the stamp set that I got at the dollar store, and it was a dollar store here, the dollar store with more, but it's a brand that you often see in many different kinds of different dollar stores. So, just check and see. I'll see if I can find a set similar that has those components in it and put it in the description box. So for this one, I had the quote, "Here come the sun," and I decided I'm going to make this bird yellow. It's like he's the sun. And his umbrella's down, and, I tried with doing cherry blossoms with this background, but this is what came out. I had a couple ideas. Sometimes I don't even know where it's going until it happens. So here, because I've learned that you kind of need to dry, you can see me using the heat tool and drying the India ink from the pit brush markers. The India ink, I wanted to get these because for shading and stuff, I wanted something that was permanent. I love the charcoal pencil. I love the Stabilo all pencil, but they are not permanent. And sometimes that is problematic. So that's why I wanted to do these. I also wanted to use the pit brush markers for stamping. I didn't want to get, stamp pads of all those different colors, but I did want to have those colors sometimes. So that's kind of my idea behind getting them. And then I toyed with the idea, do I want to put a sun, do I not? So I used a piece of jelly print that I've actually used as a background in the summer ICAD for this series. So I put that there. So that element is going to read with that. Now, because these Sakura jelly rolls were completely dry over several days, they did not get reactivated. But I would be careful. I wouldn't rub too hard. Just adding, using the blue metallic in that same pack, just adding to the umbrella. And here I'm just adding the charcoal pencil, a little bit of shading around the crazy birds and the focal points here, just to make it stand out from the background. In the next video with the other two crazy birds, I do something different to shade. I'm absolutely thrilled with both of these cards. They just turned out so well, and even the two quotes I had, just by the luck of the draw, because these were in my sentiment stash box. It even had the same font and same style there. So here's some close-ups of the background by itself, because I remembered this time, yay me, and the cards. So whether you have the crazy birds or just want to copy the background, right? You do not have to, create exactly what I have. Take a bit here that you like and try that, and then do your own thing with it. I always found more success when I did that than trying to duplicate what another artist has put out there. I always found that, for the most part, very unsatisfactory, dissatisfying. Because it never quite looked like theirs, and it killed my creative spirit. Be sure to check out the next video and see the next two seasonal crazy birds.